So I've had a bit of a mission of a morning this morning. Firstly, my house is a mess. I keep tripping over everything. And then I filmed like a quarter of this video, and then I had an error on my memory chip. So I had to start it all over again. So here I am for the second time today, people. So, hi everyone. If you are new here, my name is Lex Morningstar, and this YouTube channel is about the human condition and the 16 personality types, namely INFP. Now, today's video is about imposter syndrome. I have a few questions to ask you guys. Have you ever felt like someone's gonna find you out? So like in your career or your social standing, etc., you feel like you're not really qualified to be there, and that at some point someone's going to see right through you and figure out that the position that you've taken you don't really deserve it, and that you're going to be found out as an imposter. So like a few years ago, I had applied for this technical writing position for a website startup. So I have a love of creative expression, especially through things like the written word or YouTube videos or music or anything to do with the creative arts. And as I said, writing is one of those things. Now, I don't have any qualifications in this field, although I did do like 6 months of an arts paper at university back in the day. However, to my surprise, the employer wanted to interview me. The interview went really well, and he said he could see something special in me and wanted me to submit a write-up regarding what the company was about. So that I did, and I submitted it, and again, to my surprise, he wanted to give me a 2-week trial, and he had followed it up by saying that despite my lack of qualifications, my write-up was the best that he had seen. So at this stage, my son was pretty young. I think he was like a year old and had not spent more than 5 minutes away from me. And of course, my husband James took a little bit of time off work to give me this trial period, which lasted 2 weeks. So I did my 2-week trial period, and I did really well, and the employer wanted to hire me. So this was such great news. I felt so over the moon, and it really built my confidence up, because I thought, you know what? I got to this position without doing further education. It was just from raw skill, raw talent, and how amazing is it that I could kind of break my own glass ceiling in that way. However, something was plaguing me. And it wasn't just the fact that my son was really young and I hadn't spent much time away from him, or the fact that James had to scale back on his own career, or that we would have taken a bit of a pay cut and I would have had to commute 1.5 hours into the city every day. It wasn't just those complications, which, I think if you're in the right frame of mind, you can overcome those things. But I also had this other plaguing thought that was simmering away in the background, that I wasn't good enough to be in that position because, I wasn't qualified. Obviously, that's a big factor. But also, even if I was qualified, I just felt like I wasn't really deserving of that title, that I had these anxieties and this darkness within me that I felt, and like vulnerabilities that I felt like people were going to see it and kind of catch me out, and that I was an imposter in that situation, and that I didn't deserve it, or I wasn't qualified, not on paper per se, but I wasn't qualified sociologically to be in that position. So I didn't actually end up keeping that job. Do I regret it? Not indefinitely, but what I did take away from it is more of an awareness of that feeling, that imposter syndrome feeling, more of an understanding of how I work, who I am. And those are the kinds of things I take away from every challenging situation. It just teaches me more about myself, so that when I make further decisions in the future, then I can apply these certain things that I've learned from it. So what is exactly imposter syndrome? Well, according to, what is it called? I had it all up here and now I just don't even know what I'm talking about. Imposter syndrome. I have like 50 open tabs and now I've lost it. I don't even know where I got it from, but I wrote it down in my notes. I think it was from like Psychology Today. Yes, it was Psychology Today. So, according to Psychology Today, the imposter syndrome is a psychological term referring to a pattern of behavior where people doubt their accomplishments and have a persistent, often internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. Not an actual disorder, the term was coined by clinical psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes in 1978, where they found that despite having adequate external evidence of accomplishments, people with imposter syndrome remained convinced that they do not deserve the success that they have. So what does imposter syndrome affect? It can affect a person's ability to promote themselves. So, for example, my YouTube channel. I have to do a fair bit of self-promotion through social media, and I find it really difficult, and I have to force myself because I do have awareness that that is something I have to do despite the fact I feel like an imposter doing it. I feel like an imposter sitting here talking to you guys about life when I don't even have my shit together. Like, I seriously don't have my shit together. I'm a mess. Like, I am a mess 80% of the time. But, that's why I sit here and talk to you guys, because I know that your guys' lives are a mess 80% of the time. So I guess in that sense, there is a little bit of like acceptance there of what I'm doing, because I own the fact that my life is not all put together and that I'm a human and that I can relate to all of your vulnerabilities and anxieties and struggles in life. But it can affect people's abilities to self-promote and to put themselves out there. That is so real. It can affect socializing, making friends, and initiating contact with people to make friends. This is one I am guilty of. I really struggle with this concept. I have had bad experiences in the past where I feel like people didn't like me so much, that they were going to catch me out, that I wasn't good enough or much of a conversationalist or interesting enough for people to befriend. And I often have this kind of concept where I'll give a person a chance, but if I feel like they're not valuing me enough to be my friend or to be in contact with me and to value me as a person, then I'm not going to hold on to them, because I do know that I deserve better. I do. But it has also affected my ability to take chances on people and to trust that just because someone might ignore you for a certain period of time, or you feel like they don't value you, it doesn't actually mean they don't value you. That's imposter syndrome for you right there. Imposter syndrome can also affect risk-taking and decision-making, often resulting in analysis paralysis. So it's really hard for someone who experiences imposter syndrome to make concrete decisions based on this underlying fear that they're going to stuff up, make a mockery out of themselves, and to basically let the world know they're imposters. Obviously, this can have like a direct effect on how you progress in life. For example, I love music. I love to sing. I'm a musical inclined kind of person, but I really struggle to get up on stage and perform. It's because I feel like people are judging me, looking at me going, why is she up on stage singing? She's not good enough to be there. But I see it all the time from people who struggle to put themselves out there. Again, it goes back to that first thing, where they feel like they have this judgment of people are going to think I'm not good enough. They're going to think I'm a fraud. They're going to poke holes in what I'm doing. I'm going to embarrass myself. I'm going to come across as desperate. All of these judgments that that contribute to monkey mind. And that is all imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome doesn't just happen with INFPs or highly sensitive people or empaths, etc. It does affect everyone on the planet, maybe minus narcissists, but that's a whole different ballpark altogether. But in saying that, it does affect INFPs, empaths, highly sensitive people in a special way. So people who are emotionally sensitive are more likely to pay attention to situations around them in a very emotional and intuitive manner. They're able to read between the lines so much more and also overanalyze situations, making decisions based on this internal value system. If it doesn't feel right, they won't take flight. I just made that up just then, but that's very true, especially in the case of an INFP whose primary function is introverted feeling, which is an inner compass based on a value system. INFPs will look inside themselves to find certain solutions to problems, and these solutions come from a basis of what they value and what is true to their bigger purpose and their bigger picture. They will use extroverted intuition to express this in a value system, often bouncing off the walls of different ideas, which can really prove to be a little bit of a problem because that means that INFP is going to be changing what they do constantly and expressing that internal value system in many different ways. Gosh, I mean, for me, I will express myself through this YouTube channel. I'll do it through writing back in the Arca Pro days. I will do it through music. Every now and again, I'll jump in the studio and do something. All of a sudden, get this courage to want to perform and to express myself musically. And then I start remembering about my theatre days and have this real soft spot for expressing myself through theatre. And then I'm like, oh, I could do that too. And all of this stuff contributes to my imposter syndrome because I'm so emotionally invested into these different elements of how I can express myself. And I always look back to what kind of skill or qualification that I have, and that if I am to express myself in these different ways, people are going to look at me and think that, she doesn't stick to anything. What's she done? What's her qualifications? What makes her accomplished enough to actually be in this position of self-expression and put herself out in this way? Like, that's how I think. But not only do I think this way, I'm aware of thinking this way. And this is the difference between someone who is a sensitive person and a quote-unquote normal person experiencing imposter syndrome. I think the key to understanding imposter syndrome here at its absolute position in the human condition is understanding that, everyone does suffer from imposter syndrome. That's it right there, green light or light bulb or whatever you want to call it. Humans don't understand that other people suffer from imposter syndrome too. As crazy and ironic as that is, we're so busy comparing ourselves to other people that we forget that other people are comparing themselves to us. Other people are so deeply flawed and overanalyzing their own actions to worry about what we're doing. We only see what people outwardly project. We don't actually see what is going on inside, and people are just as disturbed as we are. They're just as average as we are. They're just as anxious as we are. They overanalyze like we do. Look, maybe in different ways, but generally speaking, people are too worried about what they're doing to notice anything that you're doing. Disturbances, vulnerabilities, and flaws are a universal part of what it means to be human. Now, how do we overcome this? Well, to be honest, I'm still learning. I'm still getting there, and I don't think I will ever overcome imposter syndrome because it's part of who I am and it's part of how I internalize the world around me. But it's about owning it. It's about understanding, being aware of it, and to say, well, you know what, despite this fact, I'm going to jump in with both feet, my hands tied behind my back, and make the most out of this situation and out of life anyway. I'm going to have the courage. I'm going to take a leap of faith, knowing that everyone else shits, knowing that kings and philosophers shit, and so do ladies. Overcoming anxiety isn't having an absence of fear, but rather having the courage to face that fear anyway, despite the outcome. Understanding that while you still might have all these sensitivities and vulnerabilities racing around you, that you're going to have the courage and the strength enough to face the world every single day. This is where narcissists, while they think they're so strong, this is actually their weakness. because they don't understand all these little micro elements of what it means to be human. But you're strong because despite all of these vulnerabilities that you have and that you're so aware of, that you still, despite that, fight every single day for your right to be who you are. Damn, we are getting so deep here. But anyway, I hope you really enjoyed this video or got something out of it. Please let me know down in the comments below situations where you've felt like you're a bit of an imposter. I hope you guys have a good day, night, evening, morning, wherever you guys are in the world, and I'll see you guys all again next time for the next video. Bye!